Hi, everybody. Thrilled to be here. So do want to start by quelling the rumors that brain candy is not a performance-enhancing drug. HP is still sticking to computers and printers. But do want to talk a little bit first about just a little bit of the context of the company of HP Inc. And to set the stage, and a lot of you may have heard this and know this already, but in 2015, HP Co. separated into two companies. So Hewlett-Packard Enterprise was one, and then HP Inc. is the other. So we represent HP Inc. You can see behind some of the areas we play in, printing and personal systems. We have entirely separate boards of directors. In fact, HP Inc., our company, was just awarded with the most diverse board of directors of a US tech company in the last few months, which is great. We know it's tough to get diversity into the tech world, so it was a huge honor for us, so we're thrilled about that. In terms of the company itself, too, and just some context there, as we separated, we realized this was a great opportunity for us to entirely reinvent ourselves. And it's truly our tagline, keep reinventing, HP Inc. And we're moving in some really interesting places, too, like 3D printing. We just signed a deal with Nike, where eventually you'll be able to get your trainers 3D printed right at the store while you wait. And we just did one with Mercedes-Benz too, which is not a car I would be buying anytime soon. But you can get, if you want the certain car, you can get it customized and 3D printed certain details of the car while you wait for it to be produced. So really exciting and cutting edge technology there. So that truly is the stage that we were working with and the context of the company. And so that wasn't just the way we think about externally with our products. We really looked at the culture. And the culture spoke very loudly about, we want to do things differently. As we pull into this new company and we think differently about our products and our market and our customers, how can we think differently about ourselves, about the culture we have and what we do? All right, so as we separated, one of the things that we looked at and that we asked our employees, 50,000 strong, we asked them three things. As we separate from HP Co., what do you want to take with you, the best of? What do you want to leave behind? And what do we want to be known for? And I can say of the 50,000 people we asked, we did it through a variety of surveys and we had focus groups. We had a 98% rate of return on those. And it was an incredible amount of work, of course, to kind of siphon that down and figure out what that meant. But a lot of it, especially within the learning and development space, we heard very clearly that what we were doing, and to quote from Tina Fey, who I love, in the show 30 Rock, it was oldie-timey. So what we had was hard to find, hard to get. When they took it, it wasn't that relevant. It didn't really help propel them forward in the ways that they wanted. And so we took the opportunity to reinvent entirely the way we think about learning and development at HP.
So just as Guillermo from IBM was telling us yesterday, we actually looked at three things. So what the business needs, what our employees want, just as Mike was mentioning, and then what are the global trends, and what is the direction in which technology is going in terms of learning. And these were kind of the three areas that informed our decision and our direction. So as we looked at these three areas, and we had interviews with our most senior leaders, as well as line managers, we had focus groups and interviews with employees across the three regions. There were four big themes and insights that emerged. First of all, as Mike was saying, the employees want to find knowledge easier. They also want to share it easier with their teams, with their peers in other teams. Then they want to find experts that they could connect with. And this is not only something that comes from the employees, it's also something that comes from our business leaders. Something that we heard constantly from the interviews we had with our business leaders was that they consider to have the best experts in the industry at HP, and that we need to find a way to leverage their knowledge and their capabilities better. We need to provide them with a platform where their knowledge can be shared with as broad of employee base as possible. Then third, employees said they want their learning to feel tailored to their needs. A lot of them said that, there's a lot of generic content, there's classes, but again, classes didn't really feel that it spoke to their level, their needs, and so on. So they wanted to feel that the learning that they got really spoke to their profile and to their needs. Then last but not least, they wanted access on the go, which of course with a workforce so mobile and so diverse and spread across the three regions in more than 70 countries, it's something that we really needed to address.
Yeah, so we looked at, the first question we asked ourselves was, as we look at redoing this, do we want to try to build something ourselves to make it more relevant and easy to access content? Or do we want to partner with a vendor to make this faster? And we realized to really hit the speed with which the culture was telling us, we need this now, there's a gap, what you have for us is not where we need it to be, we decided to select a partner. And so we went through a process, of course, of looking at multiple partners to figure out what would be the right fit for us. And then when we landed on one, we also pulled together a work stream, or several, in fact, that Francine led, that pulled in the different ways we think about pulling the content together. And we're really thoughtful about making sure that the teams represented the company, that they were a reflection of the people who would be now using this tool, and really getting that crowdsourced mentality out there. And so we had people from every region. We partnered with folks from legal, from IT, from comms. We had people from the business joining the teams because we knew that the more we had people engaged and partnering with us through it, the better chance we had to create something that was actually relevant. And we weren't too precious either with the way we thought about things. Like, we wanted to really just question our assumptions all the time and redirect if we needed to very quickly and fail fast and make decisions and change our course. So that was really one of the underpinnings too around how we approach this.
I think for us, the biggest challenge was the fact that we heard loud and clear from our employees that we were missing out in terms of learning and what we provided to them. So we wanted to come out with a solution for them as fast as possible. So what we ended up doing was to set a deadline of 14 weeks from the moment we selected our vendor till the moment we wanted to launch the platform. As you can imagine, 14 weeks to roll out a new learning platform globally to 50,000 employees is not easy. But as Mike was saying, we had, I think, the advantage of a strong leadership endorsement and support from across teams, across businesses. Our team, our core project team, was spread throughout the 3 regions. And again, as you can imagine, that's really challenging in terms of time zone alignment. Myself, I'm based in Bucharest, Romania, and I led the project from Bucharest, Romania, but we had people from Singapore, from Ireland, from Israel, from Poland, the US, and Central America. So it was truly a team effort and something that people really rallied behind because they really saw the value that we could bring through this project. And because the platform we selected didn't actually come with any content, we also needed to understand and select the type of content that we wanted to add so that it felt relevant to our employees. The good news was that the platform allowed us to have integrations with multiple sources of content. So, of course, we brought in the content from our LMS. We then decided we wanted to add content from lynda.com, as that was one of the main providers, especially in terms of technical content that our employees really needed. But then we also looked at things that you don't normally see in traditional corporate learning platform, like TED Talks or free content that is available on the web, but that also brings a lot of added value to our employees. And surprisingly or not, TED Talks are some of the most trending topics and kind of content in the platform at the moment. So we went through this process. We also partnered with the businesses to identify experts and influencers in the different teams that could help us also add that technical and that functional specific content so that when we launch, we could ensure that we also had content that spoke to very functional, specific needs that our employees would have, and that it wouldn't feel like something that was being only HR driven.
Yeah, and just to give you a sense of the scientific approach we took to figuring out, could we do it in 14 weeks? I remember sitting in the room and we were trying to figure out, working with our IT people, and said, they said, what do you think you could do? And we said, 14 weeks? And they said, there's no way you can do it. And we said, well, we think we can, and so let's try. And that was truly the extent of it, and they got behind it entirely. All of the teams really galvanized around us to figure this out. And the countless sleepless nights that we all had to get there just kind of fueled us forward. But the thing that we knew we had going for us is that the company wanted this so badly. Like, there was such a spirit of reinvention that we knew that they'd be going with us through this and a little bit patient with us in case things kind of, flopped a little bit here and there. And so the name, Brain Candy, so that's the name of the platform itself. To get to that name, truly, we went through a series of, again, iterations. We did some design thinking, and we pulled in multiple groups. And I think we started with 2,300 names that people came up with across the business. that then we culled down and we culled down and we culled down. And then we had, I think, 20. And that was honestly, that was the part of the process that for me was the most painful, because we were trying to do something different that sounded different, that felt different, but people were kind of used to what they had seen before. And so a lot of the names that came up to the surface were like Learning Tree and My Network and things like that, and we're like, oh, I can't stomach that. So we wanted it to feel different enough that it felt new, because we came from a world with HP Co. where it was called HP University, which was great. It made sense at the time, but we wanted to get entirely away from that. And so someone came up with Brain Candy, and it was kind of low on the list, but we thought, we'll try it. It was not uncontroversial. There were people who thought there was a drug reference. There were people who, I was called by one of the HR VPs and was like yelled at for 30 minutes straight about what a terrible decision we had made going with Brain Candy. And we even had to make deals with people to say, okay, you never have to call it that. You can just call it the learning platform, but we'll just know it's Brain Candy. But we'll talk more about what the overall impression of the name and the platform has been in a bit. But why don't we go ahead and show the video, the launch video that we had, Mitch? Thanks.
Let's face it, we live in a world where technology is moving so fast, it can be hard to keep up. Irrelevant and outdated information can hold you back in your job and in your life. At HP, we are committed to helping you stay ahead of the curve by giving you tools to innovate, collaborate, and grow. You said you were hungry for a real-time way to tap into the minds of the best and brightest HP experts around the world. You said you yearned for a better way to find fresh and relevant learning content. You said you were hungry for more efficient collaboration and craved a faster, better way to stay on top of important trends and keep ahead in your field. Well, we heard you and have something that will feed your appetite. Introducing Brain Candy, HP's new learning platform, where you can tap into our collective brain, fueled by more than 50,000 of the best minds at HP, all in one place. Brain Candy provides an engaging destination to share ideas, connect with experts, and fuel your mind with a breadth of topics like leadership, innovation, and technical mastery. Brain Candy makes learning easy. Just complete your profile and get great content curated and endorsed by HP employees. It also serves up personalized learning recommendations based on your interests and skills. And it lets you easily find HP experts who have knowledge on topics you want to learn more about. Brain Candy is your platform. The more you share, the stronger our collective brain becomes. And imagine all the amazing shared experiences that will keep building. As our collaboration grows, so will you. And your growth is our growth. Once you get your first taste of Brain Candy, we know you'll come back for more.
So we got to the point where we were ready to launch and started thinking of how can we do it so that it does feel different and it feels engaging and it gets people to really pay attention to what we wanted to tell them. So just as Guillermo was telling us yesterday that we need to learn a lot from our marketing teams and we need to kind of partner with them to have similar approaches, we actually decided to kick it off with a teaser campaign. So what we did is that across the 3 regions, we put this mysterious symbol on different items in the offices. We had T-shirts, we had candy, we had balloons. So all across the regions, employees started seeing this mysterious symbol in the office, but without having any sorts of information around what it was, what it meant, why it was there, and what it was supposed to do. So this was 1 week before the launch. The actual launch was not, just a webinar or an email. We had an entire week of both digital and on-site events to get people familiar with the solution, to get people familiar with what it could do for them, with the benefits of the different features, of how they can use it with their teams, for their own development, how managers can use it to help their teams grow. And we saw a really great interest and excitement about what this could provide to them. I just wanted to show a few of the insights we got from our early adopters. I'll leave for 10 seconds for you to kind of read through some of them, and then we'll share also some of the things we've heard from either business leaders or people we were partnering with in HR.
Yeah. And while you read, I will make a point too, and it can feel like, especially as you look at the video and a lot of the ways that we rolled this out, that it might feel like, we just dug into our deep pockets and just made all this stuff happen. And I will tell you, HP Inc. is an incredibly cost-conscious company. This was truly a matter of being incredibly creative. We partnered very inexpensively to create the symbol and the video and did a lot of it internally. And that truly had to become the way that we operated, because as much as we wanted to shift the culture, we knew we just didn't have this kind of open checkbook to kind of make this happen the way we wanted. So we were really restricted, which was great too. It created this creativity sort of globally around how do we do it in a way that's impactful, meaningful, interesting, different, but isn't this huge investment as well. I will say a few things. That one of the best comments that I heard actually was when somebody from the business came up to me and said, I didn't even think this was an HR thing. It just seems so cool and different. I never would have thought it was you. Never would have thought it was you. And I thought, I'll take your backhanded compliment. Thank you very much. But it felt like we were on the right path because of that. It did feel like it was part of the business. And truly, it's just because we partnered with everybody. We really just kind of pulled in the feedback. And like all of you do in your organizations, the more we partner with the business, the more it feels like theirs. It feels like we just were there to help and shepherd along the way. And
in my case, one of the kind of biggest compliments, at least for me as a project manager, kind of rolling this out and hoping that employees really see its usefulness, was recently, so we've launched this only to HP employees. Our contingent workforce doesn't have access to it. So recently, one of the business leaders in one of our businesses reached out to me to ask if the agency that they use for contractors can buy brain candy licenses from HP. And for me, that was shocking, because it just told me that, they see the value in it, and they see the value for everyone who contributes to HP's success. So not only HP employees, but also our contingent workforce.
Yep. Yeah, and back to the name, again, I mentioned it was fairly controversial at the beginning. And it took me, I had to say it out loud 30 times by myself in a room, just to kind of work through it as a name, brain candy. I can say it, I can tell people with a serious face, this is your new learning platform, brain candy. And it was a little tricky at first, but after a while, I will tell you, people it rolls off the tongue. Everybody at the company, even the person who called me, just to go back to that for 30 minutes and I got an earful, just literally, I hear it all the time from that person. Oh, brain candy's this, and I was just in India, and they're all talking about brain candy, and everyone's using brain candy. So it was a bit of a leap of faith to try something that different for the company, especially when they were looking more toward learning tree types of names. But it really has somehow supercharged the way we think, and it becomes something kind of catchy and kitschy and even playful. That at the same time, because the thing itself is so valuable, it brings such kind of meaningful experience to people, that the name sort of becomes secondary to the experience to begin with.
And recently, I received a forward from an internal newsletter that our IT team manages for their employees. And they had created this really playful message around kind of brain candy and different sweet and it's good for you and so on. And the tagline at the end, and because the platform allows any employee to share content in it and to contribute, the tagline at the end is start sharing happy brain candying, which for me was so hilarious to hear, because it's become a kind of a verb in just, 3 months since we launched?
Yeah, it's only been 3 months. Yeah. I will say, too, one of the things that, and Francine will get into this as well, one of the real fundamental ways that we approach this was, and this was very, again, kind of controversial at the time, is that it's entirely democratized learning, and so we don't lock it down at all. The learning team and talent and learning team, we add content, of course, and we curate it, we pull it in, but employees can do it just as easily as we can. They don't need permission, they can just upload stuff, they can add it, we don't moderate it, We don't shut it down. We don't tell employees what they can and can't pay attention to. And they can sort by what's most endorsed by HP employees, so they truly can just tap into what's relevant to them. Now, of course, we pay attention to it in case anything inappropriate was uploaded or pointed to. We actually had some weird article that we did shut down. That was an accident, we think. We'll go with accident. But we've had no problems with it. It's just been great. And you can see who's created it. So if you want kind of a HP Inc. official approach to leadership, which of course we have, you can find it. But we don't relegate people just to that. And that is why we have such traction and such interest, and people love to upload and share their own content and experience.
So we wanted to also share some of the numbers we've seen so far in the 3 months since we've launched. So one of the things that we had to do, because we work with Europe, and probably some of you that work with have kind of your companies in European countries, that workers' councils sometimes tend to be restrictive in terms of things that you can or cannot do. So one of their requests was to have a registration process for employees to get signed up on the platform. Because they really wanted this to be something optional. We still have the LMS for all the compliance training and all the mandatory training. So they wanted this to be optional and for employees to know that this is optional. So we've had this registration process in place, and in 3 months, we've seen approximately 20,000 users signing up. So these are employees who voluntarily, without anyone telling them, you need to go to register, signed up on the platform and starting experiencing the value that it could bring to them. Of course, we still have to reach the other 13,000, but for us, this initial number is really significant and a big success. We've seen more than 400 gatherings, and gatherings are communities of people with similar interests. Again, these are gatherings driven by employees. So employees organize themselves, created a gathering to share content, to have conversations around different topics, to share experiences. And then the numbers might not tell you much, but in terms of shared content, what you see there is about 20% of our content that is employee-driven. But if we look at completions, out of those more than 35,000 completions, about 80% of them are of content that is being shared by employees. So employees tend to actually go and watch and read things that their peers are sharing, things that their leaders are sharing, because it has that added value of knowing, oh, I know this person. I know they're recommending this, so I'm trusting their perspective. But of course, they also go to kind of the formal training, but not as much as to content shared by their peers. And what we're doing right now is that we're continuing to find new ways to get people on the platform, to get people excited about this new opportunity. Daily Inc. is our internal platform where we have news kind of published. So we've partnered with that team to have different articles published regularly. And it's not necessarily articles around brain candy specifically or things on the platform, but rather it's connection to things that they're already publishing. So for example, when our quarterly results went out this last quarter, our CFO has a series of short videos called Financials 101. So in the article at the end, we had a short paragraph just saying, if you want to understand better the results that were just announced, you can go to Brain Candy. Here's the link to the Financials 101 series. So that, it feels connected to things that they hear about and that they read about, even if it's not HR specific. What we're doing right now is that we're launching a Brain Candy Ambassadors Network because we're seeing some of the people in the businesses so active on the platform, so excited about this, so excited about what it can do for their teams. We want to leverage that enthusiasm and also the expertise that they already have on how to use the platform to get them to talk to other employees about what Brain Candy can do for them. Then we're working with managers very closely to educate them on how they can use the platforms to grow their teams. We're tying into business initiatives and different learning initiatives that happen specifically in the business, like conferences and so on, to capture all that knowledge and bring it to the platform. And last but not least, Recognition at HP is our recognition system where any employee can recognize their peers. So what we've done is that we've created branded recognition cards related to brain candy. So you can go there, you can select a card that says, thanks for fueling my knowledge, or thanks for fueling my curiosity. And you can recognize people from brain candy that have contributed to your learning. Oh. Sorry.
One thing, too, to talk about is that brain candy has not in any way replaced the fact that we, of course, pull people together face-to-face and virtually to go through facilitated learning. But the way we've done that, though, has shifted. So now we leverage brain candy before and after the face-to-face. So, and again, this is not new or rocket science, really. It's what a lot of companies are doing. But we're using and leveraging the gatherings within brain candy so that we can pull people together. They can get to know each other first before we get into a room and have valuable face-to-face time. So the face-to-face part becomes more of a workshop where people bring their actual work, and they've done a series of content before to get prepared and to know kind of some of the theory about what they're going to step into. They get to know each other. They might do some kind of assessment, MBTI or DISC, about who in the group is going to be participating. So then when they come to the 2-hour, 4-hour, 8-hour workshop, sometimes 2-day workshop, they're actually just working things out. They're getting live feedback. So we've done all the theory before, so when they get into the room or the virtual experience, they're actually just doing and learning as they go. And so it's entirely shifting the way that we leverage our time together, and we can kind of schedule those back to back because we have groups of people who are ready for that face-to-face experience. And then, of course, after the workshop, they go back to their gathering and they can share what they've just done, what they've learned, what other questions have come up, what else they want to continue to learn. And again, because it's all free and open source, they can say, oh, I found this great TED Talk on this topic, or what do you think about this article from Fast Company or Wired? And they can keep the learning going and keep it fresh.
Now, last we wanted to leave you with some of our lessons learned from launching Brain Candy. And as we started creating that list, we actually realized that there's a lot of things we learned from this experience. And I think it was because of our very short timeline and the fact that we had quite a lot of challenges to get there, but at the same time, support from different teams that we actually got to a list of 9 for you today. And again, what we're hoping is that this will make it easy for you guys if you decide to do something similar.
Yep. Yeah, so again, some of these that, of course, make sense and are true for any project that we would get engaged with within the business is obviously addressing the real need, paying attention to what the problem is to solve. And we did use a lot of, again, design thinking to really tee up the right question and get at really what is the thing that we're trying to address. And once you get that right, it really steers you in the right direction, again, with crowdsourcing. Leadership, of course, is key to anything, and they were highly engaged. We have a lot of our executives who are really active in social media anyway, and so we really stood close to those to help us kind of propel this forward, and they were some of our early adopters as well. And of course, again, key to any project, making sure we have a nice clear vision of where we're going and how we're trying to do it, especially in 14 weeks. We truly weren't sure we could pull it off, but because we were so kind of crystal clear about what the thing was that we wanted to do and solve, that kept us moving forward very quickly.
Again, all the strong internal partnerships that we build. The next one I think was critical, at least for me. High enthusiasm is not enough for people to take action. So when we were in that pilot phase just before the launch, where we invited experts and influencers from the business to get engaged and start contributing with content specific to the businesses, even though initially we saw tremendous enthusiasm, it was actually quite hard to get them to start sharing content because they needed the expertise how to use the platform. What's the best way to put together their content? What's the best way to share it? And then also, those triggers to remind them to do that. So what we did in this case was that we actually assigned 2 people from the learning team for each group of 20 business experts and influencers, and they would have weekly coaching meetings with them to ensure that they knew how to use the platform, they understood even principles of instructional design and so on, just to make sure that they had the content or they knew the topics that they would want to expand on the platform, but ensure that they also knew how to do it. And they had also that, in a way, external, someone externally that reminds you to do that. Even if it's 15 minutes a week, it still makes a difference. Again, leveraging the business influencers. In terms of the campaign and how we launched, ensuring you have a mix of digital and physical marketing activities. Of course, through digital, you can reach a very large audience. You can get to most employees. But what we noticed, especially through the on-site events, was that actually going and talking to employees and sitting down with them and explaining how to use the platform, how to kind of tailor the experience to their skills, to the things that they're interested in learning, and so on, was what actually made a difference. Of course, this takes more time and effort, but in the end, it's what makes the difference. And then making access to training on the new solution easy. So what we did is that we actually used one of the functionalities in the platform to make it super easy for people to get to the training they needed to learn more about the features of the platform. So one of the things that the platform has available was learning paths. So kind of step-by-step guidance on how to develop around a certain topic. So we put together a learning path on how to use the platform. We created short 2 to 3 minutes videos on the different features, as well as written guides. And we assigned that path to all the new users coming to the platform. And the thing is that, these assignments, it's voluntary, so employees can choose whether they want to accept them or not. But what we saw was that actually people were interested to learn more about the platform. And for some time, it was the most kind of trending content and endorsed content in the platform. It's been recently taken over by our learning path on growth mindset. And this is because our CEO is kind of a big promoter of growth mindset and how to use growth mindset to develop and to have better business results. But again, it's really critical to make it super easy for employees to get to the training needs that they need. And then last but not least, it's a long-term change process. We've been in this for 3 months now since we launched, but we still have a lot to go. We still have 30,000 employees we haven't yet gotten on the platform. And this needs to be a continuous effort. It's not enough to just launch something, expect employees to come there, even though
and we're being shut off. Okay, just quick note, our last comment before the Jeopardy music plays. So in case you haven't figured it out, in case you've been looking out at the different booths out front, we partnered with Pathgather to get this whole thing put together. And they've been fantastic partners. And I could go on the road as a paid spokesperson for them if they ever wanted me to. But it just couldn't be better in terms of the partnership, the way they worked with us. Again, that 14-week period to get this moving was an incredible amount of work and collaboration. So.
And you can tailor it to your needs, and you can tailor it to your branding, which for us was a critical point.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.